Americans are reporting symptoms of depression 3 times more than they were before the coronavirus pandemic, according to a recent study. The downstream effects of the coronavirus on our health, and particularly our mental health, are getting worse. So many people are being affected by the pandemic, especially the cultural arts and entertainment industry. This is Brennin Hunt's story.
Finger on the trigger, you wanna end the game. Isn't quite how it started. You suffocate in your shame and feel all alone in a great big world. Even at home when you're holding your girls, you're broken down and broken hearted, crying for change. So hold on, dear brother, heaven's on the way. Stay strong, my sister, a simple prayer is all it takes. Nothing can bring us down, just gotta have a little faith. And hold on to each other, 'cause heaven's on the way. Sick of people asking if you're doing okay. Drown out all the static in the bottom of a drink. But you gotta feel the love that they're sending. Open your heart and let it in. Realize forgiveness is the greatest gift that we've been given. So hold on, dear brother, heaven's on the way. Stay strong, my sister, a simple prayer is all it takes. Nothing can bring us down, just gotta have a little faith. And hold on to each other, 'cause heaven's on the way.
All right. Welcome everyone to On the Nine. Hi, Brennan. How are you?
I'm doing well, Vanessa. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we just saw your beautiful and touching video. We'll get into that in a little bit as we go through the questions, but I want to start by getting to know you better and introducing you to our audience. So, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your career in entertainment.
Well, I am a product of a family of musicians. My grandmother was a country artist with her sister in the 40s, and they did records and toured and did the whole Loretta Lynn style stuff. And then my aunt and my cousin had a duo in the 80s in the country music world. And then I turned out to be the third generation music artist that moved to Nashville and gave it a whirl for 13 years. And somehow I fell into acting along the way and ended up doing musical theater, and here I am in Oklahoma City again.
So tell me, so you began your music career. Talk to me about your music career. Have you focused mostly on country music, or did you cross over to pop? Tell us.
It's funny, I being around country music my whole life. I always say I was like the preacher's daughter who finally got out of the house and went wild. That's how I was towards country music. So I was in rock bands. I did a lot of pop. I actually moved to Nashville with a rock kind of record in mind. I signed a management deal there and pursued the rock world. And then just being in the mecca and the central of country music, I kind of fell back into it. And then I fell back in love with it, with the likes of Vince Gill, getting to write with him. He was one of my heroes as a kid, still is one of my heroes. And just getting back into the songwriting aspect of storytelling, which was really cool, which is what I love about country music. But to answer your question, there's a little bit of everything in my music. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. He's the reason why I even took any interest in dancing and singing and all of the above. Before I even had memories, my mom said I used to sleep with a white glove and would cry if I didn't have it for naps and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a huge Michael fan. But then, fast forward to 1994, I'm 9 years old and I see the Eagles' Hell Freezes Over reunion tour. And I always have heard of the Eagles through my parents because they're 70s kids. And so I grew up on Fleetwood Mac, Jackson Brown, the Eagles, Elton John, all that great stuff from the 70s. And it wasn't until seeing them live on MTV and seeing Don Henley, the lead singer, playing drums, it just blew my mind as a kid. And so I begged my parents for drums, and I started playing drums and learning how to sing and play at the same time. And then at the age of 12, my grandmother gave me my dad's old guitar, and so I started writing songs. And we had an old player piano in my parents' room, and it was so out of tune, but it worked because the first song I ever learned was Imagine by John Lennon. I kind of taught myself by listening to it over and over and rewinding the tape, and it worked out because it was out of tune, kind of like his piano on the recording. So yeah, I'm a lover of everything, but country kind of pulled me back in, and I somehow, no matter how far I try to get away from it, or not even try to get away from it, just if I write a song that's very pop R&B, somehow there's some sort of country flair in there because I'm from Oklahoma. I can't get it out of my blood. I wouldn't be where I'm at without Michael Jackson. I attribute all of my influence, not all of it, but the majority of it, to him and his legacy that he left behind. And it's cool because I have 5 and 7-year-old boys, and their favorite artist is, you guessed it, Michael Jackson.
So why don't we talk about what you were working on just before the pandemic hit?
So I had just moved back from New York City to Oklahoma City. Our house kind of sat vacant in Nashville for a little under 2 years, and we decided let's go ahead and put it on the market because we didn't know where my next job was going to take me, whether it would be LA or New York. And things were more leaning towards New York and the musical theater world, just kind of where my career path was going. And so we decided to come back here and move in with my in-laws while we had our house on the market in Nashville and just kind of figuring everything out. And while being here, I got a call to do the job of Conrad Birdie and Bye Bye Birdie at the Kennedy Center. They were doing an 8-show special performance, which would have been in May of 2020. And it was going to be starring James Van Der Beek and Harvey Fierstein and this amazing all-star cast. And so I booked that on a Monday. and Wednesday is when the NBA shut down. Friday was supposed to be my press release, and Thursday they canceled it. So it all happened within that week that I booked the job. It shut down, and nobody even knew that I got the job. So it was kind of a bummer because, you know, I'm new to that world, and I felt like I was starting to climb the ladder and learn and get better as an actor and as a performer on stage and musical theater and all of that kind of stuff. And it just kind of like the floor was just pulled out from underneath me, and I haven't had a job since late January. The song "Heaven's on the Way," I wrote it back in February with a dear friend of mine who was dealing with a lot of stuff and even my own personal convictions and personal depression. And so wrote this tune, had my buddy Skip play a verse on it, but then I just kind of shelved it, you know, and I just kind of went back to doing my auditions and trying to get the next acting job. Well, the pandemic kind of allowed me to focus on music again, which music is my first love. And so it's been nice to just, you know, I'm in my home studio here, just to come in here in the morning and drink coffee and sit at the piano or get on the computer and create beats and just try to write music and figure out what I'm doing. And yeah, I don't think "Heaven's on the Way" would have come out had the pandemic not happened, had I not, you know, gotten that job canceled and ended up sitting in Oklahoma City for how many months are we into this?
The song was born out of the pandemic, or you began writing, you began focusing more on your music, but you were also dealing with some depression, I guess, probably because some of the opportunities that were kind of ripped away, right, because of coronavirus. So would you say that, you know, throwing yourself into your music was your way to combat the feelings of depression?
Absolutely. Music's always been therapy, and I think music heals so many people because, like you said about Michael, it transcends genre, it transcends culture, it transcends race. It is the universal language of love, and we are all connected as spiritual beings, as I believe, and God has us all connected in some way, shape, or form. And I think music is like the heartbeat of all of that. And you know, there's a silver lining to all of this, and I feel so badly, and my heart goes out to everybody who's lost a loved one, or, you know, I know a lot of people have lost limbs, and just crazy things have happened through this pandemic. But the silver lining and the blessing for me is the past 2 years, I've been so busy that I haven't gotten to spend time with my family and my kids. Even when I was on Broadway doing 8 shows a week, I barely saw them. And so I've gotten to spend a lot of time with my kids. And so there is positive, and there is always a positive to the negative, you know, and that's kind of what makes the world go round.
You have had a personal situation where, in a conversation with a dear friend, discovered that he was on the brink of suicide because of coronavirus, or the effects of coronavirus. Talk to us about that and how you learned that.
Well, it kind of happened to where when I was writing the song, I was actually staying in a friend's house in California for pilot season. I was auditioning for TV shows at the time, and my friend was out of town. He's got this beautiful grand piano in his house, and so every day I just sat at that while I was waiting for a call for an audition, and honestly, I was striking out left and right. Like, I wasn't getting callbacks, and I felt, you know, like questioning my own existence as far as my place in that world in Hollywood, and what am I doing? Should I have left Nashville? You know, just second guessing, am I good at all of those kind of things, which I've dealt with my entire life because I'm an artist. But then having my friend dealing with some severe depression and issues, almost like a rock bottom in his life, it just hit me all at once, you know. You know, I always have these little knocks on the door in my head that's like, "Hey, you idiot, I'm here for you." And I always say it's God. You know, it's like, everything's going to be all right, you know. And I just had that phrase, "Help is on the way." And I'm like, well, what about heaven's on the way? You know, and it just came to me. So I just started singing that chorus and diving into my just questioning, you know, and being depressed in my own wonder of why I'm not getting jobs, and then looking at my friend John's life and seeing what he's dealing with, even though he has a beautiful wife and a beautiful child. much like me, I have a beautiful wife and two children. Why is it that we're down when we have all of these blessings? And I think, you know, in talking with my friend Johnny Boucher, who we partnered with Hope for the Day, is that it's talking about it and getting help. And that's one thing that John and I have been great for each other, and know that that is a sign of strength to open up and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. And it's the Hope for the Day logo. It's okay not to be okay. You know, that's the tagline, and it's the most true statement that I think anybody who's dealing with this could say to themselves, that I'm okay, you know, because I'm not okay. And there's a lot of other people that are dealing with it. So, you know, maybe I should ask a friend, a family member for help, you know, whoever it may be, you know, a therapist, God, you know, just reach out. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, depression doesn't exclude anybody. You know, everybody deals with it in some way, shape, or form. And in my conversations with former castmates and friends and crew that I've worked with, you know, I've had a couple of them send videos for promotional purposes and helping to help destigmatize depression and mental health, just to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've definitely been a huge help, you know, just talking to my friends, you know, and even them sending videos. When they help me when I watch these videos and I edit them for, you know, my Instagram or YouTube or whatever, it's been very therapeutic for me to hear my friends and see them and feel their energy, and just, you know, they're saying it's okay because they're not okay as well, you know. And you just have to take each day at a time and count your blessings as best you can, and those hours that you have in the moment.
So the song "Heaven's on the Way," you released it as a single. Is it part of an album to come?
Yes, I've got about 14, 15 or 16 songs that we're getting close to finishing up. Still trying to figure out what we're going to do with it, if we're going to release single after single or do a full album or what. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some new music coming in the new year, and I'm very excited because it's been quite some time since I've just shelled out a bunch of music.
And so now, where can we hear or download "Heaven's on the Way"?
You can find it on any streaming platform. Spotify is one of the top for mine, and iTunes, you can find me on there to purchase and download. But it's on Amazon, all of the above.
What does your career look like post the pandemic?
You know, I'm gonna keep rolling with the punches. I always say I go with the wind, you know, and I feel like that wind is God, and God always leads me where I need to go. And for whatever reason, I'm here in Oklahoma City, which I never thought I'd move back here, which I love it. I love the people, but you know, the industry's not really here. And so whatever comes. You know, if it's Broadway again, pack up the bags and move the whole family and go to Manhattan. You know, if it's whatever, you know, we're just gonna roll with it.
It's great. So tell me how your friend who had the issue with depression, how's he doing today?
He's doing great. He's doing really well. You know, we have a great line of communication. He just has a lot of good friends and family around him. And now that he's being open and vulnerable, speaking about these things, he's got this huge support group. Because before he kept it all in, just kind of swept it all under the rug. And that's kind of what our message has been, you know, to just be open about it.
So what advice can you give a person dealing with depression due to coronavirus based on your own experience? If there was one thing that you'd want to say.
I would say stay off social media. I think social media is the epitome of depression in itself, for me personally. I think just devices in general are bad for your mental health, especially when you're having a bad day. Turn it off, set it down, go outside, breathe in fresh air, look at everything around you, and the wind and trees and the mountains wherever you're at, the ocean. I don't even care if you're in a city. Just listen to the sound of cars and sirens going off. It's like those are things I miss about New York. So sometimes I'll walk out and just close my eyes and imagine being in New York City again, when New York was New York, you know, and just try to count your blessings and the good things in your life, and just know it's okay not to be okay. I mean, it really is hard not to be preachy when I talk about this subject. But I have been there, and I am still there. I have days that suck, and Other days are great. Some days I don't want to get out of bed, but you gotta force yourself to get out of bed. That's the best thing to do. And I know for me personally, like when I have bad days, I resort to alcohol or, smoking marijuana or whatever. Sometimes that helps, but other times you can get caught up in that and it becomes a crutch. And so I think the most important thing is mentally just to really focus on the good things and meditate. Just stop and breathe. Just stop and breathe and let God, heal you.
I want to thank you so much, Brennin, for interviewing with us today. Your story is amazing. I think it's probably a story that a lot of people can repeat and from their own personal standpoint during these very trying times. I'm hoping for this light at the end of the tunnel to get here sooner than later so that people like you, myself, all of us can come out of this better people, I hope, and also with a lot more opportunity for the future. I wish you a lot of luck. I love your Heaven's on the Way song. Is just so touching and beautiful. The video was amazing. And I really, really, truly, from my heart, wish you so much luck to you and your family and a really bright future. Thank you
Thank
again.
you so much, Vanessa. And thank you for having me. This has been fun talking to you and much blessings to you and God bless you. And I hope all the best for 2021. Let's get there, baby. Let's do it.
Absolutely. All righty. Take care.
All right. Bye.